What's going on, YouTube? Let's move the chains. So we are talking about an article posted by Mike Florio of Pro Football Talk, NBC Sports. So let's get into it. Now, first of all, this is all depending on basically if college football gets totally canceled. Now, I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm a medical doctor or I have a PhD in anything. I'm in college, business school, and I do sports marketing. Okay, my job is to talk about sports. I'm not going to go on here like other people on the internet and act like I know what's going on with the virus and act like I have a solution, because guess what? I don't. So that's me being real with you. But I can talk about how the XFL, there's kind of a pros and cons to starting in 2021, and specifically in the NBC article, starting in the fall if college football gets canceled. So let's get into it. Let's talk about kind of these pros and cons. I'd love to know your thoughts though. Do you think that the XFL should play in the fall if college football is canceled? Or do you think they should play in the spring in 2021? Either way, in 2020 or 2021. So I'd love to know your thoughts. Let's get into it. We'll begin with the pros. So the pros is that if there's not a college football season, there are going to be a lot of available players and a lot of available talent. That makes the XFL look a lot better, because the better players they can get, the more viewers you get, the more merch you sell, more tickets you sell down the road, because obviously they wouldn't be able to sell tickets this year. But you kind of get what I'm saying. There's a lot of talent in college football that's really frustrated with college football. You see players are starting to try and unionize. You see players are frustrated with how college football is being handled, how the schools and ADs and just overall NCAA is handling it. So yes, the XFL has a chance to take advantage of this situation. I'm fully aware of that. Also, you can pay these players. A player is probably going to rather play in the XFL and get paid than play in college and not get paid. I mean, that's a no-brainer. Now, one thing that I would like to point out is, do I think a player like Trevor Lawrence is going to play in the XFL if a scenario like this were to occur? No. A lot of these players just aren't going to play. They're going to sit back, relax, and enjoy the show, if you will, because they already have the tape, they already have the film, they're already ready for the NFL draft, and a lot of these players don't really need more film. Like Trevor Lawrence is probably going to be the #1 pick if we have a college football season or not. Now, there are some players who could use some extra film. Take a quarterback like Ian Book. Maybe his grade is a 4th or 5th round draft pick, or maybe even 3rd round if you're pushing it. Maybe Ian Book says, I could go play in the XFL, get paid, try to boost my draft profile. So there are obviously some pros and cons as players are stepping in, and each situation is different. But overall, I think that the XFL could grab some marquee names out of the college football market and poach some players essentially from college football. And when that is done, more people are probably going to be watching the XFL, more people will probably be excited, you'll get more fans, and yes, it will give a lot of attention to the new league. Now, with that being said, I like to point out that there are some cons to starting, especially in the fall. First of all, the XFL right now is kind of in limbo. The new owners at the time that I'm making this, they have a lot to organize. To do that in just 2 or 3 months is kind of impossible, kind of hard, and kind of unrealistic. I was actually surprised when I saw that article that Mike Florio could even come up with that idea, because that's not easy to do, to come up with a business, their new business plan in under 3 months. There's no way getting around it. That is rushed. And we know that when football is rushed from past leagues, from the AAF all the way to XFL 1.0, if the football is rushed, the product is not good, and ultimately it will fail. I do not want them to play in the fall. I'm really hesitant to see them play in the spring. A lot of it depends on if they can get the same coaches, same personnel, same players, because maybe they can just kind of start back off, if you will, from where they started back when the XFL had to close because of the coronavirus. That seems more realistic, but playing in the fall, that is just not a good idea. I'm not a fan of rushing things. I think that the XFL would benefit from pumping the brakes a little bit, assessing the situation and making the best decision. Rushing to the fall is something that I think is not smart. I think that the XFL should not do it. And I think that NBC Sports is wrong when it comes to the XFL playing in the fall. Spring, sure, I would be open to it if they can really get things going. If the talent, the coaches, and people who worked with the XFL are willing to return and kind of pick up where it started. But the fall just seems rushed. I want the quality of play to be there. I want the XFL to succeed. And I do not think that the XFL would be in good hands if it started in the fall. I'd love to know your thoughts down below. Thanks for watching the End Zone. Make sure to like, subscribe, and comment as always so we can move the chains.